And property consultant Colliers says the office space demand rather turned out to be higher than expected last year, and that momentum is still going strong this year. We'll have that and more when we return. Good morning. You're still watching Business World Live. 2018 saw record office take-up rates in the property space. That's according to Colliers International. Will this year see the same story? We have Bim Santos with the first-hand report from Colliers research manager Joey Roy Bondoc. Let's take a listen.
Well, 2018, we saw record highs in terms of office take-up and supply, residential take-up supply, even for the leisure sector. For the office sector, we saw a record high take-up of 1.18 million square meters. This is even higher than our initial forecast of 1.15 million square meters. And the supply, also 1.18 million square meters. That's no longer surprising given that developers really ramped up the completion of their projects to capture the demand from a diversified group of companies. So you have offshore gaming companies from China, have BPOs, KPOs, even traditional government agencies and multinational corporations. So vacancy for offices only 5%, and that is again driven by strong demand from all sectors. What really surprised us, for at least for the fourth quarter, is that Quezon City led other sub-locations in terms of supply and demand. And the more call centers are now moving towards Quezon City because of cheaper lease rates. And also they want to tap the labor market, the competitive labor market from Kamanava area as well as Bulacan. There's some challenges, especially with the pending approval of Trabajo 2, which might rationalize fiscal incentives. But of course, we do not see this being passed, at least after the midterm elections. And of course, we do not see lawmakers aggressively pushing for this. But again, this might be refiled after the election. So again, the concerns of BPO companies might again surface. But overall, it's a sustained take-up for 2018. Moving forward to 2019, we're expecting about 1 million square meters of new supply, take up about 900,000 square meters. So if you look at our vacancy forecast 2019-2020, it's only about 5 to 5.3%. That's still a very healthy vacancy in Metro Manila. I think that the diversified tenancy continues. If I'm talking to you 2-3 years ago, perhaps 60-70% of demand is from the BPOs, outsourcing companies. But now it's really a mix of BPOs, KPOs, offshore gaming. And we were somehow surprised that there's no decline in office space absorption from offshore gaming companies. There were concerns initially because there were some arrests in China, and also that the government of China is clamping down on online gaming. For the residential sector, we were surprised that we exceeded the record high in 2017. In 2017, 53,000 condo units were taken up or bought in the pre-selling market. But for 2018, that was even outpaced. Launches was also sustained in 2018. However, moving forward, it might be difficult to again breach that residential condo sales in 2019 because we are projecting a slowdown in terms of launches of condos. And what are the reasons behind the slowdown in launches? Number one, you have very high land values, especially in business hubs or even in the fringes of business districts. Land is continuously surging. Plus, this is a lack of developable land. So the launches of new condo units might be a challenge for the developers moving forward. Clark, Pampanga is relatively a small market for condo, but that might increase soon, or more condo units might be developed, especially with the acquisition of more land outside or just within the fringes of Clark Business District.
What's your forecast for this year for BPO growth?
Well, BPO will continuously be a major driver of office demand here in the Philippines. There's only a decline because of high base over the past few years. Previously, BPO sector was growing by about 15 to 20% per year. That was during the early 2000s. But this slowed down starting 2010. And we're still recording a sub 10% growth for the BPO sector. And this is still high, especially given a high base. So again, it's not just the BPOs that are expanding, but more and more KPOs or the knowledge process outsourcing companies are locating here. So these companies provide higher value outsourcing services, software engineering, medical transcription, finance and accounting. And this just indicates that despite threats of automation, Filipinos are able to adapt to what these outsourcing companies need. And these companies need higher value outsourcing services. So they need top notch skills.